I woke up, it was 7, waited till 11 just to figure out that no one would call.
Hi, and welcome to Thoughts Like Rabbits. Something we realized is that it's very difficult to get ideas out when you're thinking of an idea and then the person that you're working with starts talking. Because they're trying to get their idea out, and then you forget what you're going to say. So you end up not actually saying what you were thinking. Whatever. Before we had, a few weeks ago, we had worked on a video called rc9gn in the rc9gn Record Ninja. Howard is a toxic friend. I would like to thank the Master of Song for his perspective. I tried to reply to him, but I tried to reply to you, but it was taking too long and it wasn't working. And what he has to say is, I have to disagree with you on this. Yes, Howard definitely isn't a nice person. He's selfish, relies too much on Randy, and is a massive jerk. But I feel like he genuinely cares for Randy. In the Mind Wipe episode, he tries to remind Randy of who he is and actually attacks the Nomicon for mind wiping him. In the Debbie Metal episode, he tries to protect Randy's identity by stopping Heidi and even pretending to be the ninja using Mr. Driscoll. In the Randy episode, Howard attacks the Nomicon after realizing something's up with Randy. In Julian's birthday surprise, Howard is the one who saved the Powerball, knowing that Randy desperately needs to keep it safe. In the final episodes, he wants to run away with Randy so he doesn't get separated. You would argue that he only did it because he needs Randy to mooch off of, but they've been best friends for forever. It would be pretty hurt too. I would be pretty hurt too if my best friend was all of a sudden moving away. I feel like the reason Howard is such a jerk is because he's very clearly spoiled and is used to getting what he wants. And he relies on Randy too much because it's just how it's been since forever. It's their routine. It's just something they're used to. Howard is not a good person, but he's there when Randy needs him. And okay, I do kind of agree with that statement when you put it that way. But I think we kind of missed the whole point of what exactly is a toxic friend. I think that's what we had a little difficulty covering. What exactly is a toxic friend? From what I've been able to gather, a toxic friend is essentially someone who holds themselves and you back from being the best you can be instead of pushing you forwards. Manipulation isn't always a bad thing, especially between friends. I've come across at least 3 different levels to this. One is where the level 1 is Randy and Howard, and that's where the manipulator is is the friend with the toxic notions. Just with the unhealthy mindset. In that, Howard is spoiled rotten and whatnot, and he's clearly doing everything within his power to manipulate Randy into giving him everything that he wants, and argues with Randy when he doesn't see things his way. The second level is one I covered in a previous video, which was Eric's crazy is Jason's fault, and that was Jason manipulating Eric into appearing normal. Jason didn't necessarily create him to be, manipulate him into becoming normal, just to look like he's normal, because Eric clearly was kind of like a 50-50% chance of figuring it out on his own. They're kind of not the best people, but they're also not the worst. So they're kind of like ranging all around, depending on the situation. But the third level is where the person with the healthy mindset manipulates the person with the with the unhealthy mindset to being a better person. And I think the best example of this is Shepard and Rodney from Colonel Shepard and Dr. McKay from Stargate Atlantis. That's a fun show. What you see is Dr. McKay and Shepard have nothing wrong with each other because the manipulation that Shepard does on him is to help Rodney get his own head out of his butt most of the time. Basically trying to train him to be a better person. And Rodney understands that this is what he's doing is he's creating a balance. He's creating a balance so that he succeeds at becoming a better person. It's like, I can't think of another way to word this. I think the main reason why, the main reason why Howard has a problem with the Nomicon is because he sees it as an authority figure and he doesn't respect authority figures. He blames them for all of his problems instead of having respect for them. So having this all-powerful book telling Randy what to do, it would make sense that Howard would see that as a problem, because it's telling Randy to do something that Howard thinks won't get him what he wants. It doesn't fit Howard's selfish agenda. And you can see in Dr. Shepard's and Dr. McKay's friendship, Shepard doesn't really get anything out of it other than Rodney's respect. Which is what a friendship should look like in a lot of cases. And now that I've covered that, so I will now pass you off to Jay, who will be happy. Throughout the entire series, you kind of see Julian and Bucky both suffering from issues from their personal lives, and they don't tell anyone about. Julian, he has abandonment issues and has a little trouble figuring certain things out, most likely due to his parents telling him he's never going to figure it out. And why he's highly sensitive, and one of his first responses to being traumatized is, Julian wants snacky. He's highly scared of being alone. It really didn't help when Howard left him alone to get stanked. With Bucky, there's a whole lot more evidence. In the very second episode, got stank. But if you get at a picture of what Randy's room looks like and what Bucky's room looks like, you can tell a lot about a person by just their room alone. For instance, you can tell Randy has a life just from the fact that he's got a couple toys lying around, he's got a shelf full of books right next to the TV where they play video games, he's got this fun-looking table in the middle of the room. He's got a bunk bed with the bottom bunk missing for most of the show, except for when Howard comes over. Anyway, you can see the life in his room. But then you look in Bucky's room. First thing you see when the scene starts changing is 2 band trophies sitting on the table. A little cabinet in the background, and when you completely see his room, he has this obvious slight obsession with being a band member. But he also has this picture, a map of all the land masses. And the lamp in his room is continuously left on, emphasizing the fear of the dark. that he has. He has his ugly little green rug. And when you look about his room, just the paint itself drains creativity. Something for him which is a bad thing. Like, he has little control over his own room. What goes in and out. The only thing that looked like it was personal was his backpack. Truly personal was his backpack and a little box under the bed that said Bucky. The only books in his room were under the bed. Another hint that he's afraid of the dark is the mud fart episode. Out of all of them, Bucky has the most glow sticks. He has the most glow sticks. It kind of looks like this little tree, like a little tree branch in his hands. And he's the one mainly suggesting, let's go home, I'm scared. He's the one doing the most panicking. Next to Howard. You can tell how much he actually cares about his grade from the fact that you can sort of tell that his parents ask him to do things that are way beyond his ability level. He's already in the chess club, he's a band geek, he's honestly trying to have a life in school. But during the science project, if you actually freeze frame right before the laser hits the potato that powered up a TV remote control, but I'm also suspecting the reason he got a first prize trophy was because he was able to power a computer with a potato as well. Now, in that scene, if you look at Bucky's face, he's holding a little, he's most likely holding an A+. But the look on his face is not, hey, I got a good grade. It's, will my parents be happy with this? Or just upset. He's upset looking at an A+. And Bucky tends to try not to mush his personal life with his school life. I think his parents didn't start going a little more easy on him until after he came home all stanked and stayed home for like 3 days, 2 or 3 days. I think that's when they kind of realized that they may have been pushing him a little too hard. Then he also has to deal with bullies and everything. He's not just being bullied by Bash. He does occasionally get picked on by Randy and Howard. When you actually listen to his zings, they are quite well disguised passive-aggressive statements. To everyone else, they sound like a joke until you actually listen to them. They're a little passive-aggressive, and he does show a little bit of passive-aggressive tendencies, like when he's just had enough of something. When you actually watch Bucky's face, when Pitch Kickham runs around, drops his shirt off, and slides into the ground on his knees right next to Bucky, Bucky's giving him this look like, really? Was that totally necessary? He looked down at Bucky and knew exactly what that face meant. Sorry. Force of habit. Then there's the episode where Detention Island. Yeah, that episode. Bash and Morgan stick him onto a rubber band And the only thing protecting him is a coconut helmet, which by itself is not that safe. This is not proper petting. They pull him back and fling through a circle of fire and straight into a tree. And then there's the episode Detention Island. Yeah, that episode. Bash and Morgan stick him onto a rubber band, and the only thing protecting him is a coconut helmet, which by itself is not that safe. This is not proper petting. They pull him back and fling through a circle of fire and straight into a tree. And because of the angle he's going at, he could have easily he would have broken his nose, a couple of teeth, and his spine. He hit it with enough force to knock the tree down. Then he fell to the ground. He jumped back up like nothing happened, patted himself, and went, "I'm alive! I'm a hero!" And then Bash proceeds to pick him up, throw him in the air, and then catch him again. I just wanted to lunch a nerd. Then there's the episode where where a bunch of killer robots are trying to look for what they think is the ninja, Reginald Bagel, who is clearly not the ninja. What they do is pick Bucky up, interrogate him, and after he gives a straightforward answer, they throw him about 3-4 miles at about 40 miles per hour. Maybe 100. I don't know. Anyway, he was up and walking in the middle of the band. He didn't look injured. It's more than likely he landed on concrete considering the general vicinity of where he landed. Yes, you would claim that it's just the animation and everything. I've made that argument. Yeah. But on an in-universe scale, quite a few children have gotten hurt and had to be carried away on stretchers and whatnot. Bucky is one of the few who gets up with only an ow and then just kind of walks it off like nothing happened. And he hasn't figured it out, but as soon as he does, it's more than likely the only person he's ever going to tell is Flute Girl. And Flute Girl's not going to tell anybody squat because she don't care who the ninja is. Bucky would want to get it off his chest, but the only person he can trust with a secret is Flute Girl. And if he did find out that the ninja was Randy, he would attempt to fix Randy, make him a little more responsible. The biggest people that Randy would have to worry about finding out that he's the ninja would be Doug, Heidi, Debbie, the principal, and anyone else who would be a blabbermouth. When it comes to Bucky and his normal life, he didn't get invited to any parties until Amanda came along and told him to invite everyone. The only other party he had ever gone to was after that, and it was a party that was supposed to be for the members only. Yeah, it was thrown by Flute Girl. They barged in, strutted their stuff and everything. Then Howard crossed the line by smashing a vase. After tricking their way back into the party, Randy had to fight the giant robot and everything, and then after they confess, everyone else is like, that was the coolest thing ever! They're all happy and everything and invite them back in. Bucky's the only one who's still upset about it. He's not, but when he looks at Randy, he's not all that upset, but when but he's not as much upset. But when he looks at Howard, he looks, and he kind of has this expression like, why are you invited? Why are you still coming in? Because Howard was the only one who didn't apologize. Randy did. So I think after the two of them were invited back in, I think what Bucky mostly did was to sit on the couch or hide or whatever. Yeah, one interesting thing I've noticed is that Bucky picks up more chicks than Howard and Randy ever will. And most of the time, it's mainly just because he's highly emotional and want to comfort him. He's the only person in the school who wants proper relationships with the girls. Because most of the boys are trying to be cool and whatnot, and he just wants to have a life. And part of having a life is having friends. And most of the girls will accept him. Because he's so nice. Most of the boys won't because he's a nerd, a geek, and just a dork in general. He befriended the leader of the dancing fish. Just the fact that she made her whole group pick him up off the floor in the episode Everybody Ninja Along. Yeah, Bucky hugs himself in midair, falls to the floor. The first ones to step up are Morgan and her dancing fish group. She snaps her fingers, they pick him up, take him off stage, then she snaps her fingers in Randy's face. Then everyone else starts doing it. In the very first episode where Morgan and Bucky actually interact, what you see is her the only opinion she really had about him was that he was a band geek who was a little scared of heights. Till the hologram made a music joke, and then she's like, "You just laughed at death." You were a little weird and disturbing. But she definitely softened up to him a little bit later. And I think he's secretly a really good dancer due to the fact that later on what you see is in the Ninja Long episode, she's usually not the very emotional type, but you can definitely see a whole lot, she drops a lot of her guard in front of him. She's the closest to him, just trying to calm him down. And she has full-on concern on her face. She treats him like one of her own dance members, which more than likely means he's, one, a really good dancer, and two, an extremely good friend. The other gets along with Julian really well, and likely in the second season after his 15th birthday had to become his tutor. He probably due to the fact that he would probably be probably be one of the few children who could tutor him, because he's just all over the place. It's also more than likely that Bucky's also tutoring Bash behind the scenes. Just from the fact that Bash is really excited and happy to have Bucky as his nerd. He proudly proclaims he is his nerd while holding him up by the wedgie. It helps him with science. So Bash kind of in the second season does kind of go just a smidge easier on Bucky. Emphasis on a smidge. In another episode where McAnfee comes back, you can sort of tell that Bucky wants to be friends with Bash, but has a hard time due to the fact that he bullies him all the time. When McAnfee just grabbed his head like this, feel the power of the ninja, and then threw him to the floor, and Bash sat up and said, I feel like I should hug a dork. Automatically turns, grabs Bucky, hugs him. Bucky's got this, I don't know what's going on, a look all over his face. And Bash starts crying, and then Bucky's response is to start crying too, because to him that was a very short dream come true. Just getting hugged by Bash. No wedgie, no rather nasty noogie, no toilet dunking, nothing like that, just a hug. It's likely the only reason Bash had gotten that far in school is because of Bucky. Him being highly intelligent and patient. Unlike Bash, who is both dumb, loud, and very impatient. That and Bucky has a little difficulty with the word no. Randy doesn't understand what no means. Bucky, he understands what it means, he just doesn't know how to implement it to its full degree. You can sort of tell that Bash wants to toughen up those he actually cares about from the fact that not only does he proudly proclaim that it's his nerd, and he says it with a smile, but with Randy and Howard, he doesn't bother toughening them up. He doesn't like them. He didn't invite them to the Bash Splash, the biggest party of the year. The thing is, he invited Julian, and Flute Girl, and Teresa, and quite a few number of other dorks. You can tell who he likes by who he invited. And his stepdad claimed that he brought all the cool kids. Most of them were dorks, or 12th and 11th graders. You didn't see Bucky anywhere at the party, but it's more than likely that Bucky had way too much work to do, and he got a little... Then there's the fact that he's the only one who loses his clothes. Everyone else gets to keep their clothes. He's the only one who loses it. I'm thinking it's more of a psychological thing. All of those people that usually get stacked, they're usually highly attached to their clothes. Their clothes is their identity. For him, he wants to get out of that identity. But he knows he's stuck with it. That's only one tiny part of his identity. It's not the whole thing. And he knows it. This is kind of reinforced by the fact that he's this cool dork. He's a chess master. He's the school homework kid. He's the school joke. It's kind of being reinforced that he doesn't want to be purely a band geek. There's probably a lot more things I could probably talk about for the show, but that's as much as I've figured out so far. Oh, it's nice talking to you. Subscribe, like, comment, add ideas. Help.